Coming up, Madison County ended its progress to disarm chemical warheads in July, but then officials found out there was more work to be done. And school officials are making a push for enrollment-based funding, which they say can be beneficial for most school systems.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning, I'm Olivia Calfee. The time is 6:32 on September 7th. Now let's check in with Chief Forecaster Brandon Robinson for a look at your forecast this Thursday morning. Brandon, we're seeing a little bit of a rainy start to our day, so rain jacket, umbrellas, probably a good idea today.
Exactly. At least keep them handy because the cold front is passing through right now. The rain kind of clustered in the eastern counties. I believe that's where it's going to stay for a little while today. Let's see what's going on out there. Live pinpoint Doppler radar. It's basically hazard east at this point, kind of just a little bit down south toward Harlan too. So if you're living from Harlan to basically, let's call it Prestonsburg right now and east, you're seeing some heavy pockets of rain to the west. The front's basically approaching I-75. But again, we're going to be continuing to watch this heavy band. Pikeville, you're getting in on some action right now just east of Jenkins. Pretty good little electrical storm moving through parts of Letcher County there. Whitesburg, I'd say you're getting a pretty good little storm right here. Just, man, I might actually check that camera in just a second, see if we're seeing any lightning on that camera. But again, I know our director was saying that there was some lightning on the Pikeville Medical Center camera a little earlier, so we'll check back in on them in a little bit. Pine Mountain there in Letcher County. Let's watch this for a second. Heavy rain coming down there on Pine Mountain there at US 119, in Letcher County there, Whitesburg Mountain there. But again, not any lightning we see so far. 65 up there, 64 in Y, 65 in Clintwood. Everybody else pretty close to 70. For the rest of the day, back and forth rain chances, especially in those eastern counties. We'll keep you posted and have more on that coming up here in a few minutes. Olivia?
All right, Brandon, thank you. All Floyd County schools will be closed Friday. Officials say this is due to the death of the school system's lead driver trainer coordinator on Monday. The funeral for 54-year-old Dwayne Dawson of High Hat will be held at noon Friday at the Nelson Frazier Funeral Home. School officials want to make sure colleagues are able to go. This day will be made up at the end of the school year. A former Eastern Kentucky prosecutor charged with murdering his wife is due in court today. 49-year-old Donald Deskins is charged with murder and tampering with evidence in the death of Judith Deskins. He is a former assistant Pike County attorney. A grand jury indicted Deskins last week. His indictment says he caused blunt force trauma with intent to cause her death. Deskins is on the docket to be arraigned this morning. A Laurel County man is behind bars after crashing his car while under the influence. Deputies with the Laurel County Sheriff's Office arrested 51-year-old Kevin M. Sparkman on Monday. Deputies made the arrest on Old Crab Orchard Road about 2 miles north of London. After deputies arrived at the scene, they noticed Sparkman was trying to drive his car out of the ditch. He was taken to the Laurel County Correctional Center. A Floyd County man was taken into custody after police found him with drug paraphernalia. Tuesday night, Martin City Police received a complaint of a man going toward McDowell who was possibly wanted on an outstanding warrant. After a traffic stop, officers hit 50-year-old Mikkel R. Frazier of McDowell with several violations. They also found 2 small baggies containing a white crystal-like substance. He was taken to the Floyd County Detention Center. In Wayne County, a woman crashed her car into a garage Tuesday. The Monticello Wayne County 911 dispatch received a call around 4:30 Tuesday afternoon involving a car going through a building off West Columbia Avenue. An investigation determined 58-year-old Tammy Jo Gregory was heading west when she reportedly blacked out, resulting in her losing control of her car, which ended up going through a fence. She was taken to the Wayne County Hospital for treatment. There is now a streamlined application process for veterans exposed to toxic water at Camp Lejeune to receive financial settlements from the government. The Justice Department and the Navy have a plan to speed up a backlog of tens of thousands of civil claims. There are more than 93,000 claims by Marines, their families, and civilian employees tied to contaminated water they drank and bathed in at the North Carolina base. A Floyd County bridge that was closed due to safety concerns is open again with restrictions. The Gestal Bridge is along Kentucky 2557 just west of US 23. It was closed due to structural issues with one of the piers. Crews began working on a temporary repair and it reopened yesterday under a 3-ton restricted weight limit. Work continues on a second phase of repairs. It's unclear when those will be finished. The process to destroy chemical warheads in Madison County ended in July, but that's not the end of the story. There's more cleanup work to do, and the workforce used to do the work may not have to leave town to find other jobs. Phil Pendleton has more on the next steps in the destruction process.
You could start making your way.
Months after the final warhead was neutralized, Richmond leaders and others were told there is more work to do to finalize the weapon destruction process.
We got a lot of secondary waste to destroy, and we've got a plant to tear down, basically.
It's been a process that started all the way back in 1984 with the first meeting to talk about getting rid of the weapons stockpile of dangerous nerve agent that had been around since World War II. But after the destruction, the warhead still contains some residual agent to run through a detonation chamber.
It generates a lot of heat, over 1,000 degrees. That basically destroys any agent, and then what you have is basically scrap metal coming out.
And local leaders say that there are several strong possibilities for some new companies that will bring new jobs to this region because of what has taken place with the chemical weapons demolition and destruction that has been going on now for several years. They want to take advantage of an available and skilled workforce. Some of the companies deal with the military and munitions. Others are looking to make investments in the tens of millions of dollars.
But I can tell you that there is a company that is planning on locating here, that the estimated employment for that company is somewhere between 75 and 125 people.
Officials say another meeting to inform the community of activity will take place in December. In Madison County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Officials said yesterday the final rocket was neutralized 85 days ahead of schedule. Some Eastern Kentucky superintendents say a funding change could benefit students. School districts are currently funded by the state through average daily attendance as opposed to enrollment. Letcher County Schools Superintendent Denise Yant says enrollment-based funding can provide districts more money and the ability to invest more into students.
Our kids are our future, and if we don't provide them with an appropriate education, we're missing out the opportunities that they can provide for us later. We're building the next generation of doctors, lawyers, scientists. Anything is possible, and they are bright, brilliant kids who can change this world.
The funding change would need to be approved by state legislators. Yant says superintendents have been advocating for a change for years. St. Joseph Hospital just got a large donation to help underserved patients. The Hospital Foundation received more than $1.2 million from Common Spirit Health's Mission and Ministry Fund. That money will help integrate preventative screenings into primary care settings. It's expected to have the most impact in Fayette, Madison, and Laurel counties. The University of the Cumberlands has announced a large donation from a foundation to support student scholarships. The university's president calls the $25 million donation from the O. Wayne Rollins Foundation a historic commitment, marking the single largest donation in the university's history. He says it will allow students to graduate with little to no debt. University officials say they are matching the donation dollar for dollar.
.641, we're tracking some heavy bands of rain across some of the eastern counties close to Pikeville this morning. We'll show you the Pikeville Medical Center camera here in just a few minutes. And I want to zoom in on one particular storm, and it's not just because it's close to where I live, but it's very electrical, going basically over Whitesburg, Pine Mountain, and into Whitesburg. We've been watching that heavy rain really rolling through downtown there, and I actually got to see a flash of lightning there just a couple of minutes ago. So that's one of the heavier pockets of rain. And again, we'll take a look at that Pikeville Medical Center camera here in just a few minutes because that's another pocket of heavy rain over over that way. So again, just be careful out there this morning. That's what we saw here in Hazard a little earlier. Other people seeing it across the region right now. 64 Clintwood and Wise, 74 in Monticello this morning. So again, some warm air still out there until that front passes by. Out the door forecast as we head through the rest of the day. Well, I guess I don't have the out the door forecast put in there, but it's going to be soggy for a little bit, and then we'll see that try to move out by this afternoon. Temperatures topping out in the low 80s. Olivia?
Thanks, Brandon, and thank you for joining us. The time is now 6:42. Still to come on Mountain News this morning. The Biden administration is canceling oil drilling leases in Alaska approved by the Trump administration. Stay with us to find out more.